Then my lips and hers quickly found each other. By this time she was breathing heavily, but she suddenly pushed me away and said, "Hey, close the door. If someone comes in, it will be terrible." I quickly did as she said. She was old and like a thirsty person who had just found a cool stream. She immersed herself in it and splashed around. I used all my skills. Every part of the room was marked with traces of happiness. Welcome to our channel. If you love engaging and emotional love stories, then come to our channel. Here we will bring you stories full of surprises, touching and engaging. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any interesting stories. In today's video, we would like to present to you a story called My Landlady, narrated by Jane. Please watch along. I am Henry, 25 years old, currently working as a worker at an electronics company. I rent a room about 3 kilometers from my workplace. My boarding house has 15 rooms, mostly workers from the same company. I am still single, tall, and have dark skin. My boarding house is very safe because the landlady's husband is a police officer, so there has never been any theft or fighting. Everyone living in the boarding house feels safe and comfortable. The boarding house is only a few steps away from the landlady's house. The landlady is over 40 this year, and the landlady is much older than her, probably over 50 years old. Because of her comfortable life and lack of worries, she is quite young, looks plump, and has fair skin. Every evening when everyone has gone home from work, she often goes to the boarding house to check the rooms and ask if there are any problems. She is very friendly and always cares about everyone in the boarding house, so she is loved by everyone. Because she has nothing to do and her husband leaves early in the morning and comes back late at night, sometimes for a whole week, she has a lot of free time. Sometimes when everyone has gone to work, she even comes over to check the room locks and whether the car is locked. She is extremely careful. I have just moved into this boarding house for 3 months. Every day I see the landlady walking around, I also feel pleased. Sometimes she wears a dress that looks extremely sexy, extremely cool. I am a young man, always full of energy, so sometimes I feel very stuffy. My thoughts are very dirty, but I cannot stop them. I've never had a chance to talk to the landlady because I live a rather private life. Maybe I am different from other people. I mainly work the night shift, sometimes the whole boarding house works during the day, and I am the only one working at night, because I have nothing but good health, and working at night will pay much higher than working during the day. That morning when I came home from the night shift, I was wearing shorts and was about to make breakfast, when suddenly the door opened and the boss was standing right outside. I turned around and saw her smiling and greeting me. "Hello. What's up?" She hesitated for a moment before finally saying, "I just came here to check. I thought you forgot to lock your door when I saw your door open." Her face turned a little red. I smiled when I saw that. "I just got home from work. I work nights this month," I said as I walked to the door closer to her. I don't know why I walked closer to her at that moment, as if she had some kind of attraction that made me do so. Seeing me up close, I saw her face turn even redder. I was very pleased, which made me smile even more. She felt more embarrassed than before, so she only said a few more sentences and then left the boarding house. At that moment, I had no idea that her heart was pounding. An indescribable feeling was taking place inside her. That feeling made her both worried and happy. On the way home, she suddenly smiled mysteriously. Only she knew what that smile represented. The landlady's mind could not escape the image of the young man with strong muscles and a healthy body standing right in front of her. Countless strange emotions of hers were focused on that figure. It had been a long time since she had been close to her husband. The heat inside her was now burning fiercely. Her husband was always away on business trips, and he was quite old, so their sex life was no longer as passionate as before. She was in the prime of her life, the age when she always longed for it, but her husband could not satisfy her. Every time she asked for something, he would avoid it. Sometimes when she asked too much, he would have to make an excuse to go on a business trip. So she looked at him and felt resentful in her heart. Today, seeing the young man with strong muscles right in front of her made her feel excited and restless. Then suddenly, a bold thought appeared in her mind. She wanted to possess that body. As soon as the thought appeared, she felt extremely excited. All day long, Henry's image kept appearing in her mind. Those strange feelings kept making her restless. She remembered Henry's toned muscles, bright smile, and bright eyes. Her heart beat faster every time she thought of that scene. In the afternoon, when everyone started to go home from work, she went to the boarding house as usual. But today, she had a different purpose. She wanted to see Henry one more time. She wanted to confirm that her feelings were not just fleeting. Entering the boarding house, she tried to keep her natural appearance, checking each room, asking everyone as usual. Arriving at Henry's room, she stood in front of the door, took a deep breath, and knocked. Henry opened the door and stood there with a bright smile. "Hello, what's the matter?" She felt her heart pounding, trying to stay calm. She replied, "I just came to check if everything is okay. Are you tired from working at night?" Henry smiled and replied, "It's nothing. I'm used to it." She looked at Henry for a long time, her eyes unable to leave his strong body. She said a few more words and left the room, but she knew in her heart that she couldn't stop there. That daring thought became clearer and clearer in her mind. That night, her husband had not returned from a business trip yet, and she lay down on the bed, sadly. Images of the young man's bare chest kept flooding into her mind, covering her whole mind, making it impossible for her to sleep. The fire of passion and desire had flared up in her, becoming more and more intense, unable to stop thinking about him. Her hands began to move. Because her husband couldn't satisfy her, she had a habit of making friends with her fingers when she needed it. She closed her eyes and began to imagine the spring scene, and emotions welled up inside her. She lay still and began to enjoy the comfortable feeling that was creeping through her body, and then she fell asleep in endless happy thoughts. The next morning when she woke up, she felt more excited than ever. She wanted to see Henry immediately, but he hadn't come home from work yet. She sat on the second floor outside the porch, waiting for him to pass by. Waiting until almost 8 o'clock, but still not seeing him return, she was extremely impatient. She tried to calm herself down, reminding herself not to be so hasty. Another 20 minutes passed, and finally she saw Henry driving home. She was secretly happy. Where did he go that took so long, making me wait forever? As soon as the words left her mouth, she suddenly laughed as if she was embarrassed with herself. She decided to create an opportunity to meet Henry naturally. She went downstairs to prepare some breakfast, intending to bring it to Henry as a way of showing her concern as a landlady. When she saw Henry driving his bike in, she walked over, carrying a tray of food. "Henry, you just got home? I prepared some breakfast. Eat it to ease your fatigue." Henry smiled gratefully. "Thank you. I just finished my night shift, and I'm so hungry." She watched Henry eat and felt her heart beat faster. This closeness made her both worried and excited. She sat down and talked to Henry for a while, creating a comfortable and friendly feeling. She felt more and more attracted to Henry's strength and youth. She knew she was stepping onto a dangerous path, but the temptation was too great for her to stop. All day long, the feeling of being by Henry's side and getting closer made her happy. She kept smiling, her mood extremely cheerful. She slept very well and comfortably all night. The next morning she felt healthier than ever. "As for me, Henry, today as usual I got off work at 7 a.m. The guys in the group invited each other to have breakfast. I happily agreed. We went to a pig intestine restaurant. Each of us had a few glasses of wine with a plate of intestines and a bowl of noodles. Drinking wine in the morning makes you drunk easily, so everyone only had a few glasses. Just like that made me feel lightheaded. When we finished, we all went home. I had no idea that the landlady was eagerly waiting for me. When I got back to my room, all the rooms were locked. I went into the bathroom and brushed my teeth and washed my face to feel comfortable. As I opened the door to go out and smoke a cigarette, I was surprised to see the landlady coming in. I looked back and saw her holding a bag of fruit. She saw me, smiled, and then took my hand and pulled me into the room. I bought some fresh fruit. Eat it to regain your strength. I smiled and thanked her. At this time, I was still feeling dizzy from the alcohol. She was still holding my hand. When she turned around, she saw that I was only wrapped in a towel. She stared at me without blinking, then as if she couldn't control herself, she hugged me. Seeing her like that, I hugged her too. All these days of longing for that body suddenly became a reality I couldn't stop. As for her, she had been craving me for so long. Today, she was determined to win it, so she was very proactive. She was just afraid that I would push her away and look down on her for being old. I didn't expect me to be so proactive. Then my lips and hers quickly found each other. At this time, she was breathing heavily, but she suddenly pushed me away and said, "Hey, close the door. If someone comes in, it will be terrible." I quickly did as she said. Then, like a thirsty person who has just found a cool stream, she immersed herself in it and enjoyed it to her heart's content. As for me, I used all my skills. Every corner of the room was marked with traces of happiness. After finishing her work, she took my phone, dialed her number and said, "You must keep our relationship a secret, otherwise we both won't be able to live well." I nodded and stood up. She and I quickly exchanged a passionate kiss. She left and told me to rest well. "I have your number. I will call you." I locked the door and went to bed. After working the night shift, drinking a few glasses of wine and working at high capacity, I quickly fell into a deep sleep. She went home and took a shower. The intense feeling that had just happened was still fresh in her mind. She smiled. "He's so strong." The feeling that she hadn't enjoyed for a long time made her feel 10 years younger. While bathing, she was lost in thought. 2 days later, her husband returned from a business trip. She still made demands of him as usual, but he only did a little perfunctory work and quickly went to bed. She did not ask for anything more and gradually fell asleep. The next morning, as soon as her husband left for work, she called Henry. For the past few days, ever since the first time with Henry, she couldn't hold back. Last night, her husband had only scratched her itch, which she felt was not enough. This morning, she had to find Henry to quench that thirst. The phone rang. Henry had just finished showering when he heard his grandmother calling and picked up the phone. On the other end of the line, his grandmother's voice rang out. "Can you come over to my house for a bit? The machine is broken. Can you come over and help me fix it?" Hearing that, Henry felt relieved. He had been feeling stuffy for the past few days, so Henry quickly got dressed and went to her house. Henry walked through the tall gate and entered. Her house was extremely rich, with luxurious furniture. She locked the gate, left the door ajar, and then led Henry into the room. We were ready for an endless climb. That's why everyone climbed to the top, easily. 30 minutes later, I poured out all my longing. She seemed to faint in happiness and overwhelming emotions. She smiled with a satisfied face. I didn't say anything or do anything, just kept quiet and left. When I got back to my room, I received a text message from her. She said she loved me very much and thanked me for coming to her and bringing her so much happiness. But then, things can never be kept in the dark forever. Because she had me to take care of her, the times she asked her husband for things became less. Her husband was surprised because he knew her needs were very high. However, he said nothing, just silently watched. That day, my wife and I were taking turns stirring up the sublime emotions. She was about to reach climax when suddenly her bedroom door was kicked open. He stood in front of the door, his face full of murderous intent. I was flustered, and she immediately hugged his legs tightly, crying and begging. I had finished dressing, so I quickly ran out the door and disappeared. He, her husband, didn't chase after me because he was in the industry. If this matter were exposed, how could he face others? He didn't say anything, just stood there silently. She swore and promised over and over that she would never let such a thing happen again. I quickly returned to my rented room, packed my things and left immediately. I moved to another rented room, 10 keymates away from my grandparents' place, changed my phone number and have not been in contact since. As for her, I don't know whether he forgave her or what happened to her afterwards. That's the end of my story. From then on, I never thought anything of married people. That one time was enough for me to remember. Today's story has come to an end. We have experienced together the tense moments, passion and unexpected events in the stormy relationship between the young man and the landlady. Through this story, we see more clearly the complex emotions of human beings, from passionate desire to regret and inevitable consequences. The young man had to face reality and realize that extramarital relationships always bring many risks and sufferings. In the end, leaving and cutting off all contact was the right choice that helped him gain valuable lessons about life and love. Our story today will stop here. Thank you for taking the time to watch the entire video. Hopefully, the details and emotions in the story have brought you interesting and meaningful moments. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below the video to let me know your opinion. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any stories in the future. Each of your subscribe buttons and a like will be the motivation to help Jane and the program production team have the motivation to create more attractive videos. And now, see you in the next videos. Wish you a great day.